Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Research Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds, and we got an excellent show tonight. We got a great guest. My guest tonight, we're doing a part two. He was on my show several months earlier. He's a good friend of mine, like family to me. I'm glad to call him a mentor. Man's full of knowledge. He is part of Nesper. He's worked closely with my cousins Ed and Lorraine Warren. Please welcome my guest at this time, Wade Kirby. Hey,
Thank
Wade,
you. Thank you
welcome
very
to the
much.
show.
That's a nice intro, Russell. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So, people that haven't heard of you yet, that didn't tune in the first time, tell them a little bit about yourself and how you got started with Ed and Lorraine and Nesper.
Well, I'll make it quick. Back in 1987, so almost 38 years now ago, I had what was called a inhuman demonic infestation in my apartment. I knew something was up, but I didn't know what it was called or even exactly to the extent of it at the time. It was 9 months of pure hell, um, torment, mostly alone. I had three priests come over to bless my apartment, and the last one fled with the door open. He didn't even close the door; he left. And uh, it got so bad near the end there that I had to have people stay with me in the apartment. It wasn't safe to be there alone. The activity was too dangerous. Punching through the mattress, screams in the pillow, yelling my name. The bed would levitate. Terrifying if you're alone. So anyway, I had a friend come over, and um, it was the first time I had someone there, and the entity did not like it, and it uh, uh, he went into the main living room, which there was no furniture in it. I had just moved there about 3 months or so, and when he went into the living room, it lifted me up. I'm standing in the hallway. It lifted me up, and I ran in terror to him and literally jumped, putting my hands around his neck and my legs around his stomach. And it lifted us both up. He was 6'4", and lifted us both up off the ground 4 or 5 inches and threw us down. And we calculated that was 371 pounds that was lifted up. And he said, afterwards we were talking, and he said, there's a couple in Connecticut that are demonologists, and they help people like you. And my first reaction was, I don't want a demonologist in my home. I don't want any demon people. I mean, that's the problem. I want to get rid of it. So he said, no, no, no. They work with the church and clergy to get rid of negative spirits. And he says, I'll call her for you. And I said, okay. And sure enough, the very next day, Miss Warren called me, collect on the phone. No, is it? No, she had the operator do it. And I have that recording, in fact, because it was on the tape machine, and I'm dating myself. But sure enough, she introduced who she was and vice versa. And she, in a nutshell, taught me how to clear my home, and how to spiritually protect myself. I got it directly from her and Mr. Warren. And Mr. Warren, by the way, is the first person who said, son, I believe you. I believe you. And that was such a relief, because even work, they didn't believe me. So, and that's a tactic of the inhuman demonic. You must remember, here I go off. I'm on a tangent now, Russell. There's a difference between a spirit like grandma, grandpa, someone you know. That would be an apparition. A spirit that would come you don't know is a ghost. Okay, Mr. Warren told me that the first 5 minutes I met him. Now, a demonic spirit is quite different from an inhuman demonic spirit like I had. An inhuman spirit has never walked the face of the earth, it's never lived in a human body, and it will never have a path to God. So it wants to destroy that in humans. It wants to take your life and completely wreck it and destroy it, and basically, usually, commit suicide. And it believes they can jump into your body at that very moment and take over. But thanks to what the Lord did on the cross, that can never happen. So an inhuman spirit has one advantage: it knows the wisdom of the ages. It was around before the dinosaurs, and it will be here when you're gone and I'm gone. It knows your history, it knows your grandmother's name and what your grandfather gave you on your seventh birthday. And they will use that and manipulate that to cause more emotional, physical, and spiritual damage to you, if that makes sense. So there's quite a difference between a demonic spirit who was earthbound, who lived in a human body, and a inhuman demonic spirit. So I hope I made that clear. And how does a demonic human spirit come about? Well, there are many ways, as there are many souls that experience it. So most people don't think about the paranormal every day. In fact, maybe if they see a ghost movie or a scary movie or a show with Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg in, for example, they'll think about spirituality and the paranormal, the spirit world. If a person has to, for example, be in a plane crash or a car accident, and is it does not think of the paranormal, maybe once a year, 2 years, they may be in an accident and have their deceased body, and then they transition, but they don't know about the light. They don't know about the paranormal and the safely how to transition. So they would get lost. They would fight that light and say, "No, no, no, no! I have a daughter that's going to have a baby in 2 weeks, or I just made payments on that boat, and I got to get to that boat." They're earthly things that understandably can hold you back. So they miss the light, and the light will come back eventually, but not at that point. So they'll go around to their family, and the daughter's born, for example, and he can't hug her. He can't be with her. He can't. No one is acknowledging his presence or feeling he's even there in the room. He becomes bitter, angry, confused, in limbo, as we call it. A spirit in limbo, earthbound spirit, a human spirit who lived in a physical body. By the way, um, free will does play into all to this, so don't forget that. Um, you have the free will to resist the light or go to the light.
Mhm.
So, based on your belief, religious wise, spiritually wise, and physical and mental as well, it all ties together. But you'll wander the earth, becoming lonely, becoming bitter, and there are a lot of souls, thank goodness that we can't perceive, that are like that out there, and you will gather to your like vibrations. I'll get to that in a moment. Help me on that, Russell. Remind me. And they will become angry, bitter gangs, cliques, groups, whatever you want to call them, spirits who will hang together. And they eventually learn to hate man or woman, spirits, and create negative activity towards them. Thus, you have a negative earthbound spirit that was once a human. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so that's how that comes. Whereas an inhuman demonic spirit has never walked the earth in a human body. It has never been able to jump into a person who's just deceased their body and take over. So that's that in a nutshell. So I met them um, 39 years ago, so 38, and I started clearing homes for 25 years on my own. Um, and I went from Long Island to Washington D.C., and all about even Florida to clear homes and teach spiritual protection. And then uh, COVID came, and basically I lost my job for 39 years. And uh, I was a friend of Judy and Tony's for many years. And Judy called me and said, "Hey, mom's cats need to be taken care of, and we drive 40 minutes to and from the house every day. Would you consider coming one weekend just to see the cats and to see if you would like to have that ability, that opportunity?" And I said, "Well, okay. I mean, I don't have a job and it's COVID time." And so
Right.
I got out of the city, and by the way, I still have the apartment. It's my apartment. And people will say, "Why didn't you move?" Number one, it's my apartment. It has no right to trespass and take over that space. And number two, I went to Washington D.C. to visit a friend, and he lives in an A-frame roof. Okay, to the like a
Mhm.
point, and the thing followed me there and walked on the roof, and it sounded like a goat, a hoofed animal was walking on the roof. Now try to explain that to your friend while you stay there. So I learned from that it would follow me wherever I went. So I stayed in my apartment. I didn't give it up. It is mine, and I knew all along I was going to keep that. I wasn't going to do that tactic and give in. So where was I? Backing up. Um, what was I talking about, Russell? You got to keep me on track. So many things.
You were talking about moving from your apartment and you lost your job due to
Oh
COVID.
yes, and so I came up to Connecticut here in Monroe, and was introduced to the cats, and I absolutely fell in love, and vice versa, and the rest is history. So now I'm the caretaker of the home. The cats have passed, and I take care of the property and keep it clean, organized, take care of the garden, and now I mean, I started cooking for the meetings, the team meetings. I was like the cook and made them breakfast during it, and lunch, dinner, and then they were talking, and I would say, "Well, why don't you try this tactic?" And they all turned around and said, "How did you know that? Who taught you that?" And I said, "Well, Miss Warren." So that's how that happened. Finally, after 3 years, Tony said, "Do you want to be on the team?" And I said, "Sure, I'd love to help people." And because I've been in their shoes, in other words, the client's shoes, and I
Yep.
know what they're going through emotionally, and mentally, and spiritually, and physically, I can be a good help and solid team member to help out the clients.
Right. And you
Yeah.
bring that good comfort feeling to a person when you talk to them.
Well, thank you. I'm not going to mug them, but thank you very much for saying that. I can only say that I understand what they're going through all too well,
Yep.
and um, the pain, the emotion, the mental, the emotional damage, it never goes away. You push it down. There was a time like 15 years where immediately after I started reading all the information I could. I said, what the heck just happened? And how, why, and has it happened before? So I started to read every single book I could. Back then, there wasn't YouTube or anything like that, or even the internet. By the way, getting in touch with the Warrens, that's through the phone book. My friend looked them up, and that's how that happened. It's so much easier now to get help as far
Yeah.
as the internet and all like that. That's a big, big, big plus. Okay, I just wish the Warrens would have known that, have been around to experience that.
Yeah.
But uh, as time went on, I was embarrassed, and I was ashamed, and I pushed it down. I didn't talk about it. My family has not even heard the whole story yet, and nor has the team. I just feel that it's just so painful. There's no reason to share that.
Right.
Um, So, but all that emotion stays with you. And sometimes, because I'm here on property, we'll do an investigation in the museum, for example, and they will trigger me particularly in different ways. Um, they'll work on one attempt was fear. Two attempts were emotions. They would break open literally. They would able to get into my mind, my psyche, and break down those raw emotions and open them. And the second time that was done, I realized what they were doing. So Dan Rivera said, "You know what? I don't want you in the museum with all that emotion." And I get that because that would feed them. We all
Yeah.
know that. But I said, "No, Dan, if I don't go in there, they win. They're not going to win with me. I'm going in there. Now that we've identified and I know what's going on, how they're working on me, then now I can go in without any effect from that." So that's a positive step. But they're inhuman spirits in the museum. Okay, just to clarify that. But they work in many different ways. An investigator can come in and they'll work on their fear level. An investigator recently went in and within a minute, and I don't mean two, within a minute was completely drained of energy to where he was going to fall down. He got out of the museum doorway and started swaying left and right to fall down. That's how quick the energy is pulled out of people at sometimes. So they have different tactics and ways to affect somebody. It's very interesting, it's very scary, but it's very um, fascinating to understand the ways that they work. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. It is fascinating to see how they work on people's psyche,
I
even
wish I could get. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
even in houses, like when we go deal with clients and stuff like that in their homes that are dealing with that stuff.
And how it's affecting them.
Yep.
And at the moment, when even me, when I'm a target, I can't detect when they're physically within like 5 inches of me. Or I that would be easier to detect. They can come on very subtly and in waves, in frequencies, and affect you that way.
Mhm.
There was a time when Dan Rivera and I, he's the lead investigator. Um, we were working on something that we wanted to do in the museum before an investigative team came, but they came like an hour early. So Dan and I were not done, and we were working on it in the living room. And I got a very agitated um, energy around me, and I was aggravated, and something was pulling my trigger, and Dan was as well, but we didn't communicate that. And he's never snapped at me, but he snapped at me that time. And I said, "No, no, no, no. Don't you realize that we're being put against each other? They're working on us now. Can't you feel the energy?" And he goes, "Oh my gosh, you're right." I said, "Let's break it. Let's stop it. This is not important right now. This is a goal that we wanted, but it's not going to happen now. Let it go. Take their plan and destroy it. Take all the ammo away." And he goes, "Yeah, you're right. You're right." And we did. And it worked fine without what we were trying to do beforehand. But they work on very interesting ways. And I just want to point that out.
Yeah, definitely, and that's like when you go to a house to deal with them, they already know when you're coming, who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I have several things. Now, don't think I understand all this. And by the way, no one knows everything. And if they
No.
do, you walk away. You say, "Thank you very much. Have a good day. Goodbye." And if they charge you, you do the same thing. We don't charge. We
Yeah,
don't
we don't do
charge. Um, we'd like our hotels or transportation and food taken care of, but we don't charge for what we do. Um, but there's several things. If we're going to a location that's like a museum that supposedly has a haunting there, um, not always, but 90% of the time, I tell the team, I don't want to know where we're going or what we're up against or what we're doing or what, I like to know what town it's in. But other than that, I don't. They know I don't want to know, so they don't talk about it in the car as we go. And 80% of times, usually when we get within 45 minutes to an hour of the property, I'll get what's called a visitation.
Mm,
A spirit from that location will come, and I know they're there, like in near me to talk to me. Is when my emotions suddenly flood. I mean, out of the blue, I just begin to cry, and that's when I know I have a visitation. It's a foreign spirit that is trying to communicate with me, and they're very high in energy or emotion or sadness or whatever. Like if they were murdered, for example, and I always say, I acknowledge you. I know you're here, and I want to communicate with you, but you got to click it down. You got to come down to my level, and so we can communicate. Okay, and usually I'll start to get images, flashes of where we're going, and the like emotional stamp of that area, of that home or business, if that makes sense. So
mhm.
I'll get a pre-cognizant information before we actually get to the destination. I'm pausing here because I just heard two things, and sorry. Um, so and the other thing we'll do, if and then again, I don't know how it works. Another thing that I can sometimes pick up on, if you're going to a client's location, client's home or office, etc., where
Mm,
there has been a inhuman, possibly inhuman spirit. um, I can get a glimpse of the home, and vibrationally, I can pick up whether it's in the first floor, second, even the attic, even down to the basement. I can locate it where it is before I go in the home. And we went on a case recently where, oh, there's some interesting stuff to tell about cases, but I don't mention names or the details per se, but because the client's privacy is number one.
yep,
Okay, and
yep,
I understand that because I didn't want everyone to know what was going on with me. Most of people would think I'm crazy. The bed is levitating. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's whacked. Yeah.
right,
So you don't talk about it. My point is, um, I can get kind of messages. I can read where the inhuman demonic spirit is, or even an earthbound spirit is. Um, uh, and I'll verbalize that to the car, to the team beforehand. I said, I don't know if this makes sense, and then if they've been to the location before, um, they will test me, and they'll say, "Did you get an image on the outside?" I said, "Yes," and they'll say, "What did you see? What colors?" And I said, um, uh, like a gingerbread house. I know this doesn't make sense. I'm quoting, and it's like a gingerbread house, but it's very tall. I see 3 stories and an attic, but the attic has got sloped, scalloped shingles, and it's all like brown, purple, blue, very dark. And there's all this wood ornamentation on the uh, the entranceways to the doorway. There's like a porch, and around the edge of the porch, there's all this ornamentation. Well, long story made short, they drove, Chris and Dan and myself drove into the driveway of the Pierce Mansion. I think it's in upstate New York. I'm pretty sure. And I said, "That's it. That's it. That's the house." And sure enough, if you know the Pierce Mansion, look it up, and you'll see what I described. Now, how does that work? I don't know, but I do know that a young lady in her early 40s with a pleated blouse that was navy. She also likes brown, chocolate brown blouses with a cameo and a little furred collar, lace collar thing. And her hair was done up in a bun. Long story short, I'm in the parlor and there's her picture, and I screamed, "There she is! That's the lady who came to the car." And everyone looked at me like, "What?" But yeah, I don't know how that works, but sometimes and often, like 80% of the time, I'll get a precognizant telepathy of what we're going to and for, if that makes sense. By the way, I just want to add this in. Um, I didn't realize it, but all the 9 months in my apartment, I got to where I could detect where it was hovering in the doorway, and uh, I didn't have a purpose or understanding, but I was able to detect vibrations, which would come later in life to
Mm.
make a very useful tool. I can go to a location and find out where a demonic is hiding and go right down to it. Um, and even if it's in a like a secluded aluminum casing to an air shaft, I can find where it is by vibrations. So that was very good. And you know what? I didn't learn. The team helped me learn this. I didn't learn this till like this year. So you're going back 38 years. It wanted to kill me. The entity in my apartment, the inhuman demonic spirit, wanted to kill me. That was no secret. The Warrens helped me there, but and I knew through my faith that it was never going to win. Never. There was never any doubt. Um, but it wanted me dead, so I wouldn't be here now helping other clients.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that till this year. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That that shows you that they have the wisdom of the ages.
Oh, that's true. Very true.
Yeah, yeah. Can't explain it all, but I believe in that. That's for sure. I learned that this year. So I'm always learning. Don't know everything, but if I do know something, I'll be glad to share it with you.
That's like I don't know how you take care of all those items in that museum during those paracons and stuff. And
Well, what? So he's talking about when we travel with the well, when we travel, it's a whole routine. Now, in 2 minutes, get me back on the Paracon. I'll explain about that room and everything. But when we travel, um, first off, there's so much. There's layers of protection that we do. Um, no one who's not on the team will touch any of the haunted items, the items that have an attachment. Okay, and I just want to clarify one thing: God will never allow a earthbound human spirit to attach to an inanimate object like a doll. um he is so loving of your soul without your even being aware of and be able to comprehend that love. He will never allow a human spirit to stay on earth after life and transition and be attached to a book or toy or a teddy bear. Only an inhuman demonic spirit can do that. So that's a good thing. So you know that if anything in the museum has an attachment, that it's demonic and inhuman. Okay. Now that clarifies that. We take great precautions in our first selves. I like to go to mass 2 days before I know I'm going to be in the museum and take communion. That's just me. I also, if I have anything needed to be blessed, I will do that. Usually in the city where I go a day or two a week. Otherwise, I live out here. And then so everyone is fairly protected. We bless the cars. We bless the vehicle that the items are going to be transported in. And we do what's I call a fumigation method, where we use a technique. It's a practice that Miss Warren taught me that it literally puts the items to sleep.
mm,
They literally go in a coma. Now, I know that there are variations of that, don't get me wrong, but it calms them down. Now, uh, we one thing good, we had the team will move the items into the vehicle, okay? And at that point, we will vacuum or sweep or clean the museum, and we'll have it re-blessed and seal the door. So all of the say 12 items that are going to the Paracon or traveling with the Devils on the Run tour, which we did last year, and I think we're doing again this year. Um, they're in the truck. So the morning of we that we're going to drive to say Gettysburg like we did last year. I will go to the truck by myself at like 4 in the morning, and I will unlock and lift up the back 2 3 feet, and I will crawl inside and do my fumigation method to put them really down while we travel. And what was interesting this particular year, I was doing it 4 in the morning. No one was around. Everyone's asleep. Team's not going to get here for an hour, and I could hear an owl, hoot owl, go. "Woo, woo, woo,
Mhm.
woo, woo." So it's and there's a forest next door to the property. So I start my ritual, and um, I guess I needed it because they knew that in the blackest black of forest trees and owls and coyotes, I saw a ball the size of a softball, brilliantly white, sparkly light. And as I caught my eye, I turned to it, got a solid glimpse, a 2 second glimpse of it, and it went boom and completely disappeared. That's a good entity. That's a good energy as opposed to a black figure, for example. So I knew I wasn't alone. I knew what I was doing was very spiritual and attracting angels, spirits to help me and guide me. And I wasn't scared anymore. And I got up in the truck, and did my fumigation method and closed it, locked it, did the front seats, cab, closed the doors, and then when the team got there, Chris and I, for example, Chris drove. I don't drive. I'm legally blind, but I can see 22% worth. But that's why you don't want me to drive. If you see me driving, either you took a good drug or I need to get off the road, or you
Right.
need to get off the road. But while we drive, I have a prayer book, and I usually do it like every 2 hours silently. There's no reason to tell people I do this, but people are going to ask, "How do you protect the vehicle?" And I do a spiritual protection around myself and around the vehicle. And I do a binding prayer. That's most important,
Mhm.
about every 2 hours as we drive. And believe it or not, we don't talk about the items in the back behind us. There are 6 to 8, 10 hours where we didn't think about it. Now, when we stop at a gas station or a restaurant, someone will stay with the truck. Someone is always with the truck, either outside or in the cab. We never leave the truck alone. And so, as we ride to Gettysburg, that's how it happens. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Then we have a dedicated, phenomenal, fantastic group of about 10 people who, for like 4 or 5 years now, have helped us, and they know what needs to be done. All of the haunted items are put in certain bins, and they're loaded into the central part of the room. That'll be done by the team. So the other 10 people or so will handle the lighting, the electrical, any audio situation we may have, and and set up the tables, etc., and the signs, things like that. But it's a very efficient practice and routine. It takes about 4 to 6 hours to set up and about 3 hours to take down. And now, Russell, you bring up a point that's very interesting. When you went into the artifact room, as we call it, the museum room at Gettysburg, what did you feel, or did you?
Uh, what I felt, it felt calm. I didn't feel any heavy energy or anything bad. It felt calm, welcoming to come in there, especially with having Ed and Lorraine's stuff there in the center kind of broke it up a little bit from all the artifacts in the room. You got to see their tools of the trade, so it kind of took everybody's mind off a lot of the stuff and Annabelle, and I felt really welcome and at ease in there. I didn't feel any bad
That's
presence.
that's nice to hear. That's what we wanted to hear. Um, we know you're going in to see the real art items and the artifacts and the attachments, so to speak, but um, I say there's no gift shop on the outside. Uh, there's so many things to explain or to share. Um, we take great effort to make that room safe for everybody. Uh, the items are blessed themselves, which makes them go like this. Okay, they want to back up. This is the first year that Dan has let me deal with and create the, I called it the Warrens at Home area.
Mhm.
And that was extremely fun for me this year because he let me do whatever I wanted, including Gregarian chants, which help subdue any demonic. So it literally makes them, when they hear that, they're reminded of the truth and where they are with the truth, and they coil back. Then we did, without any fanfare or announcement, privately, we had 3 people in there who were trained to do the fumigation method live at 3 times a day in the museum. And you go counterclockwise and you do that, and it literally takes the inhuman spirits, and they cling to the items, and they're bounded, they're terrified. They do not want to get near that practice or stuff that we create from that. And it's funny, there was times when it's not easy to go in the real museum alone, when you have to get something or do something or find something. And I don't really, I don't really want to, but there are times when you have to do it. But there at Gettysburg, it was funny. I was in there probably for both days. I was probably in there 2.5 hours by myself. And maybe I was just so pumped up on teaching and seeing the guests, and talking to them and hearing their stories, that I didn't, well, wasn't in that mental frame of mind of being threatened, or it was used as a teaching tool. Now, Russell, I should tell you, I think I see comments. I can't read them, so if it's
Uh,
anything, if it's a question, just interrupt me.
yep, this is the question. So, are demons living a lie, or are we living in their lies?
Now, did you say LIE or LIVE?
LIE.
Okay, now read the question again.
So, are demons living a lie, or are we living in their lies?
Well, that's an interesting question. Um, you got to remember that you have free will as humans. We have free will. Okay, we can be a good person or a bad person. Okay, we can love animals or kick animals. Um, so as far as they're living with us, a demonic living with us, they're not your friend. They want to trick you. And by the way, just to continue on the word LIE, um, everything that a demonic says to you, be it human demonic or inhuman demonic, is a lie. It is a false. It is a untruth. So just know that, and you're ahead of the game as far as how they work and operate. They will never tell you the truth. They will never love you. They will never be on your side. Of course, unless you sell your soul, so to speak, which is a real thing. I don't want to really talk about that, but um, let's just say there are several in the world that we all know, especially in the entertainment business, where that has come to be. Okay, enough said on that. So are we living a lie with them? My truth is the foundation of a man who died on a cross, and that is not a lie. That is the truth, and I live by him and for him, and want to be a soldier for him. So as far as, like, am I living in a lie? No. It's called faith and it's called belief, and hope and love. Okay, are they living in a lie? They can never kill me. I will not be allow that. And humbly I say that, because I have fear like everyone else. Does that answer the question?
We'll see if he posts back. Katie Stafford says, Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, Russell, I'm afraid you're going to have to read those. I can't see them.
And then she said, "No, they cannot."
Thank you. Thank you. That's good. Thank you very much. That's great. You're doing great. Thank you. Keep
The one
these
that asked
questions coming.
the one that asked the question, "Summer side of life," said, "Yes, very much."
Good. I'm glad it could make sense. I didn't quite understand the question, but two and two equals four, and I just pieced it together. And that's the way. I live by those rules. I live by this belief. I treat people from that belief that they all have God within them, and so therefore treat them nice. That's what I try to do. Some people, that's okay, they have free will and I honor that. That's their path, and that is divine. That's their expression. You can't be kind to an animal until you've been cruel.
Yep.
I know that's hard to say, but you don't know light until you've seen darkness. And maybe because I've seen darkness and lived in darkness, I want to keep in the light. That's just for me, though. That's for me. I'd be glad to help anyone, but that's just the way you have free will, if that makes sense.
Jimmy Ricker said, "Amen."
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Um, uh, nothing is funny without truth into it, and a truth is a truth, and you have to own it. You have to live it, and that's what I do. That's the way I try. So, continue on. What's your thoughts there, Russell?
Well, I know, like, we did a lecture on Halloween, and we were talking about what we do and dealing with the demonic. We talked about demonic, and it was amazing how many people didn't realize and understand how that works with the demonic entities and all that. And we had one guy come up to us, and he says people are afraid to talk about it in church
Yeah,
and educate people at with
yeah.
that. And he says, "I'm glad there's people like you guys out there that are actually educating people with the demonic and getting that word out so people know how to deal with it."
Well, Russell, you bring up such a valid point because you must remember the demonic never sleeps. We sleep 8 hours, 6 hours, and 4 hours in my case, but they never rest, and they're always plotting against
Yep.
us. So, gosh, there's so many things to talk about. You got me off track here. Um, is there a question there?
Yeah, Katie asked if, are our soul different from our spirit?
Katie, what a brilliant question. Um, and again, I must preface this by saying this is my belief based on my experience. Okay. Now, and I don't know if we'll have time, but I would even offer to say I'll talk about what I saw in my past life regression when I transitioned in one lifetime and the 8 seconds I had in the afterlife. If you want to talk about that, we can. But back to Katie's question, we all have a soul. We all have a spirit. It's the same, one and the same. Everyone's soul is equal, so to speak. We're all on the same path to become one with God, the Father. Okay. That being said, there's I could talk for 9 hours. So yes, you also, to be detailed here and fair to you, you also have what's called you have a physical body. You also have a spiritual body, and you have a astral body, also sometimes called the light body. Not always, but you have sometimes astral projections when you go out into your sleep. Your body can, which is far more spiritually awake than we are in the physical. So you
Mhm.
can have a spiritual knowledge in a very old soul, so to speak, in your soul, and yet your astral body can come and go every night or once a month. It all depends on your spiritual soul awakening and need. Why would you go out to a spiritual body and travel on Earth and other dimensions? Yeah, that's a topic.
Yep.
But because we have um, other existences that we're not aware of in this physical body. This is limited. I can only talk through my mouth and tongue, earth words. I can sometimes feel more emotion, broader spectrum of emotion, which I can't convey because there are not earthly words to convey that to that strong degree. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
If you um, go for example out into a oh, how do I say this? There's so many things to talk about. It's unfair. Um, do you realize that when you, Russell, keep me back on track about, like, for example, astral body or soul, like
Mm.
the young lady asked. But do you realize that when you go on a supposedly ghost hunt and you go to a haunted location and you get evidence through a ghost tool or app or the spirit box, whatever, you got to remember they don't have hands, bones, eyes, mouth, and a tongue to talk. They're a ball of energy, you see. They do not have arms and legs. Now, yes, you will see, take Gettysburg, for example, apparitions of
Mhm.
a physical soldier, okay? Walking in the field. Number one, it's probably not aware that it's dead. Number two, it is taken on a vibrational image of its lifetime. In other words, a young 24-year-old soldier will wear the cappy hat and the uniform, but it's our way of perceiving that image that it throws to us. Does that make sense? It's called
Yep.
an apparition. I mentioned that before, Mr. Warren. Um, so I remember talking with Mr. Warren, and he would get defensive sometimes with me, but I said, Mr. Warren, how does a spirit knock on a wall or a table or a wood? And I said, they don't have bones. They don't. How do they make that sound? And he would say it's a manipulation of vibrations, of frequency that is
Mhm.
manipulated very fast and made the sound into the wall. For example, it's not their hand, it's not their bones. Okay, a soldier in Gettysburg that's in an apparition does not have bones. Okay, believe it or not, they see through vibration.
Mhm.
So spirits in the spirit realm come and go vibrationally. They're a ball of energy. We all have a soul within us, a spirit from God that is vibrating. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So that's your core. We are in a third dimensional environment frequency. In other words, third dimensional, everything is vibrating 33.3 megahertz. We can perceive everything that vibrates at that level. The bookcase, the car,
Mhm.
um, okay, even the device you're looking at now with the internet, that's all third dimensional. If I cough, did you see anything come out? Hopefully not. But that's not third dimensional. That's a different frequency that we can't quite
Mhm.
perceive. Kind of like a dog hears more sounds than we do. Like the whistle, for example, we can't hear it, but the dogs can. We cannot perceive, or should not perceive, anything in the fourth, fifth, sixth level of dimension. Things that are in the lower frequencies, like the second dimension, that would be your demonic, etc. That they will literally break the rules and make a knock on a wall, etc., to cause us oppression, to cause us torment, to cause us confusion mentally and visually. And is that true, or am I going crazy? After a while, it does wear on you, and you get emotionally worn down. That's what Mr. Warren would call oppression, and
Mhm.
that's usually done by the demonic and the spirits. Boy, have I gone on a tangent. Russell, get me back. What's the question?
Do you think a spirit could see us like we can see it sometimes?
I think they can see us better, quite honestly. And no one has the real answer. I don't know that answer definitely. I do know Like, for example, when a spirit, if we're going to a case or location and that spirit comes to make communication with me an hour before, I can't see them. The only I can't really physically feel them. I don't want to, but I do feel them. They connect to me emotionally, so and mentally. So that, but I can't tell if they're a foot away or 50 yards away, if that makes sense. So I think my belief is they can perceive us easier than we can perceive them. Remember, and I give another example. When the inhuman spirits in the museum would work on me to break down my emotions, to rip open those files that I've had closed for 28 years, 38 years, excuse me, and cause me emotional breakdown. That I can't see when they come to me to do that. So no, I think they see more than we do, because we're in a third dimensional physical body. And look at me, for example. I don't. I mean, this is blind, and this has 22% vision. So I'm only limited to what my body can see. Russell can have 20/20. Okay, he sees better than I do. My point is, we can only use our physical body to see visually, but now you can do psychically. That's the kind of same topic but a different level. And if you work out and exercise that ability, it will become fine-tuned. Thus I can detect when there's a spirit nearby on the way to a case. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, good questions. Yeah, so a soul, a spirit, everyone has a soul. Everyone, even a dog and cat and lizard, everyone has a soul. And everyone has a spirit. It's one and the same. Okay. Now, what's your thoughts, Russell? Where were you supposed to tell me what topic I was supposed to be on?
We were gonna talk about astral projection and
Oh, yes. or 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 the afterlife. In other words, the transition from one life to what was spiritual life. Which do you want?
either or is fine with me.
um I tell you what, let's go to let's see, there was so if you don't have any of this and don't remember this, that's fine. Okay, you probably do it, and I call it, this is God's way of keeping us sane. If you remembered everything you did in an astral projection, you'd come back to your body, and the next morning you'd be going crazy. You'd say, what the hell? How much garlic did I eat last night?
Right.
But my point is, once you leave your third dimensional physical body in bed, your astral body, your light body, can go out and I'm just going to say what I do. And I don't always remember, but there are times when I do. In fact, I can give you certain stories that I've had out there. Um, I know that whenever I have an image and feeling, I always, people will perceive differently. I perceive basically visually, but remember, it's vibrationally. So the image is all different. The images can look like earthly things, but they look slightly different. I visited a friend in his apartment, and he's staying with at this lady's house. And I said, there's book in where you were sleeping. There's bookcases that are brown, and the wallpaper was green with like rivers running through it. I don't understand those rivers. And he said, oh, it's wallpaper with old trees brown on the wall with the green background. I said, oh. I said, well, in the living room there was a low couch with a mirror on top with glass. And I said, I don't understand that. What was that? What was that about? Is that true? And I thought she maybe had been packing up and put the mirror on the couch. And he goes, oh, he says, yeah, she's got the clear vinyl plastic over the couch cushions. And I went, oh, that makes sense. So she had those couch cushions covered for protection, and that's what I got, like with the glass on top. So you perceive without your physical eyes, but you do it vibrationally. Don't question yourself. You do it. It's innate as a spiritual being. You have that ability when you're in the non-physical to perceive that way, and we all do it, but we don't remember it. Otherwise, like I said, it's the way God's way of making us sane. We'd go insane if we had all of these adventures remembered fully. You go visit a friend from high school you haven't seen in 9 years, and you wake up with the best feeling. I got to call her today because I really feel close to her. She's on my mind a lot. Well, there's no accident there, and she probably remembers you because you were joined up in spirit, and you probably arranged that 3 months ago. So you are much unlimited. You are much a divine being. You are fully observed and blessed. And by the way, there's a silver cord that goes with you, that it stays with you. It's attached to your being, your ball of light and your astral body, that never gets tangled, and it can go 9,000 miles. Okay, and that's what finds your way back. Don't worry about that mentally or physically. Oh my gosh, what if I don't come back? Yeah, you'll come back. You always come back. In
Yeah.
fact, how many of you have taken a nap or laid in bed? I find, especially during when I nap during the day, that you don't realize you're falling asleep, and suddenly you go and you jerk your body, and you're
Yep.
like, oh wow, what was that? Well, that's the soul, not the soul, but the astral body, the spirit body, going out, and your physical body says, wait, not yet. Not asleep yet, and it pulls you back in. That's what that jerk is. That's what I believe. And I've also experienced where coming back into my body, and I don't have all the answers here, I just tell you what I experienced. I could see my body, and I could hear a grinding noise, and I was upside down, literally, um, with my head to my head, going in, squeezing back in. I remember that, if that makes sense. So in other
Mm.
words, my astral body, my ball of light, my spirit was coming back into my head. The soul stays in the body. Okay, God arranged that. The soul never leaves, but your astral body, your light body, your spirit body goes out and does work. It actually helps people, helps other realms and dimensions if you really want to go there. Does that make sense, or do people think I'm absolutely whacked?
Nobody said anything yet that you're
All
whack.
right, give them time. So yeah, isn't that exciting? Doesn't that tell us that we are unlimited beings? But because we're in the third dimension in this body, and we only have these eyes and this mouth and a day-to-day existence, that's all we think is all
Mm.
there is. But you are so much multidimensional, um, such loved spiritual beings. It's incredible, and I'm grateful that I have had a fraction of a moment of that feeling, and I'll keep it for the rest of my life. I'll never forget it. Oh, we have a question. What's that, Russell? Go to it.
Katie Knox Stafford said, I would love to see if Russell could get you back on and maybe you could talk about what light workers are.
About life workers.
Light workers.
Well,
Lighd.
if you want to be a light worker, be a light worker. That means the next person you see, the next person you are in exchange with verbally and doing your work, your job, etc., treat them nice, treat them respectable. Try to, if you work with someone who's a enemy or antagonizes you, try to counteract that, but keep your dignity. Try to be kind. What would some of the archangels or spiritual beings want you to do? It doesn't mean you're always happy at that moment, because you got to sometimes sacrifice. But keep in your truth, keep in your belief, allow them theirs, and that's a light worker. That's what I call, like, if I call upon Michael the Archangel, a soldier in an army of light. You're going against what you desire and will, but you're also honoring the other people that you come into interaction with. And believe me, live when I lived in New York City. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I can't. That was a test. That was a test. Yes. Good
Yeah,
question.
I hear you. I've been to New York City quite a bit growing up on the East Coast, so I
And
know
I
what
love the city. It's coming back, by the way. I love the city, love the food, and it is now like 82, 85% back before, like it was before COVID. But there are some areas that are still very scarred and have not come back. But yeah, city, believe it or not, the city is a teacher. And you may come home frustrated and dirty and tired, but you learn stuff that you haven't even learned to file away in your life history about dealing with people, about being forgiving to people. I could go on, but the city, New York City, is a teacher.
and Katie said, "I see, so anyone can be a light worker."
Absolutely. Because, Katie, you know what? You have a gift here. It's called free will, and you can abuse it or you can use it. And I think you'll use it. You have the free will to be kind to people, animals, etc. Um, and there was a lady on the side of the road with her car, white Mercedes, and I had finished my job and I was heading home, tired. But she was probably, I don't know, 68 or so, and had a straw hat. And so I passed her and pulled over, and she had a flat tire. I changed her tire. Okay, no credit needed. And she said, "Young man, where do you work?" And I said, "Oh, I work over here at the theater." And she goes, "Oh, well, listen, come follow me. I'm going to cook you dinner. You're going to come to my house for dinner." I said, "Well, you don't have to do that. It's just something I wanted to do to change the tire." She goes, "No, you're coming to dinner. You're coming to dinner." And she poked me on the chest like this. I said, "Okay, okay." So got in my car, followed her. And sure enough, she had groceries in the car and started cooking the meal. And I kind of sat around the living room, beautiful home. And all of a sudden, the glass door to the patio opened up, and this young man walked in. He just came from a swim. He was actually dripping with water. Sat on the coffee table and goes, "Hi, what's your name?" I said, "My name's Wade." And she goes, "That's the young man who helped me change my flat tire today. He works at the theater." Oh, we got to talking, and she goes, "Now, Johnny, get off that table. You're dripping and you're getting the magazines all wet. We have guests. Now go change, and we're gonna have dinner soon." You know who that was? John Voight and his mother.
Oh, okay.
True story. True story. So you can be a light worker in many ways. Okay. Now, is there another question?
Uh, Katie says, "Okay, my dudes, Mrs. Katie's got to get back to work. Thank you for taking the time to come on Russell's podcast and our network. God bless."
Oh, Katie, thank you. You're why I do this. Thank you.
And
Yes.
then
So go
we got
ahead.
another question. April asks, "What do you believe about seeing future events before they occur?"
Um, that's a good question, and I don't have much information on that. Um, it does sometimes happen to me, and it sounds like I'm picking up that it happened to her a lot. It happens to her a lot. She wants to know the mechanics of how. Um, I don't know, but I've had it several times. Um, how can I get before or see a location before I get there? I don't know. Um, Rob with Get Haunted says it's a form of what's it called? Remote viewing.
Mhm.
Uh, I understand 70% of that, but not real. I don't understand it all, and I don't understand how it works. I know that when I get images, there's a certain frequency that comes with them, and if I can identify that frequency and the image at the same time, I know that that is external input, In other words, someone's bringing me the message. How does a person get an image of something that hasn't happened yet? The future? I don't know, because we all have free will, so you can change it at any moment. That's why I don't like to make, by the way, predictions. I don't want to be called a psychic. I am not a psychic. I don't like that because, number one, uh, it doesn't always. I don't have it every day. There are days when I've got it, but there are days that I don't. I don't know why. Um, and I find that um, the higher people bring you up, the easier it is to fall down. So I don't play that psychic game, and I get offended by that. I don't like. I don't. I'm not a psychic. Do I get images and information? Yes. Do I know how? Not all the time. Do I know where? Yes. But how do you see things in the future? Unless it's preordained and can't be changed, that I could understand. Otherwise, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happens. But I do know that it's an external input, meaning it's not necessarily me looking to see it. It is brought to me and fed like a vibration into my mind. Does that make sense? I hope so.
Yep.
Did make sense, Russell?
Yep. I know
Okay, good.
my dad does it too. He can tell me, like, he told my mom one day, "You're gonna hit a deer," and shortly after that, she hit a deer.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that happens. I don't know. I mean, karmically and spiritually, I don't know the reason, but there are images that are glimpsed at. Uh, Yes, and I can sometimes I'll tell like the driver of the truck or so, we get there safely. We get there safely. Don't worry, we get there safely. Now, if he took the steering wheel and turned to the right on 95 in a 4-lane expressway, there's going to be trouble.
Yep.
But he has free will to keep that truck going straight ahead and safely. And I don't know why or how, but when, but I'll get an image of later in the day, and we're setting up the museum. We get there. I know that, and that if I could tell him that to get him calmer or confidence and know that it's going to be okay, then that's what I'll do. That's what I do, you know. But I don't know how it works.
Summer side of life said, "I don't let that happen to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's a demonic attempt to lure me to them by showing me images or something in the future."
Well, that's interesting. That would be an act of what's called oppression. They would be mentally working on you, giving you images to either change your day, sabotage your day, or change something that they don't want to happen because it would be a good thing. They do want to sabotage that for you. That would be when you're under a demonic influence. Yes, and there is no shame in that. There is shame if you don't recognize it, if you don't try to stop it, because then you're propagating it and becoming a tool for them. You want to be aware of such thing, and it doesn't take long. Believe me, if you've got a demonic in your home, you're gonna know very quickly. And I'm repeating, Miss Warren, you're gonna know very, very quickly. Doesn't take long at all.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Uh, let's switch a little bit and talk about these mysterious drones that have been flying around. I know you've been spotting them in New York City like crazy. I've been watching them here in Missouri.
Well, now I understand New York because well, first off, let's make a disclaimer. I believe that if you say they're aliens or our government or whatever, I can bring up evidence that throws all of those out, disqualifies them. So, do I have the answer? No, no one knows. No one at this point, as of today, no one does. But Russell, you say you live in Missouri,
Yep.
so like where are yours flying above?
They're coming from Kansas City, and they're headed out towards, like, Chillicothe, Missouri, where our military armory is,
Okay.
and they follow the same pattern each time. Now this time
Yes,
they changed
yes.
pattern. Now they're flying on the other side of my field, back and forth.
Do you live in a densely populated area or rural?
Yeah, it's kind of a rural population.
So okay. That being said, um, why would they be there?
The only thing I could think of is because of, like, Kansas City's only, like, an hour from me, and then you got our state capital, Jeff City, which is just south of us.
But why would they be flying where you could see them?
I don't know. The only thing you can really see of them is, like, the red and green blinking lights of them.
Right.
Like, the other morning, I was getting ready to leave for work, and it was just getting daylight, and there was one sitting there just hovering, and then it just vanished into midair. It didn't fly away, it didn't.
Well, that's the interesting point. Number one, okay, okay, America. Let's say they're extraterrestrial, okay, and I'm just gonna give three or four hypotheses here. I can say that three times. Um, I do know that there are instances where people live in a very rural area on acres of land, and once they see the drone, they'll go outside and bring their phone up to film it, and it'll go dark so you can't see it, or it'll cloak itself to look
Mm,
like a cloud. And if it's extraterrestrial, why are they using a vehicle that looks like an earthly drone with the red and green or red and blue navigation lights?
mhm,
Unless they have created an image that we use as drones that we would not be alarmed at seeing. But when you go outside in a rural area, no one around, no city, and you start to film and they go out, that's very suspicious. Like, who's watching? Is there someone in that craft? Or are they, if it's a drone, they have to be viewing it on a computer or laptop or iPad. And where are they? We don't. So you mean to tell me there's been all these 2,000 sightings and no one has seen it land or take off? Now, let's say if it's the government, we're our drones, America. This is now the fourth week. They know, and it's getting more and more. Okay,
mhm.
I watched it out my window in New York City on Monday night. For 2 hours, it did the same pattern back and forth, where it would turn out the light and then all of a sudden appear 700 yards away, and it would be 10 blocks from me, and I'm near LaGuardia Airport. And there's thousands of people. By the way, Monday there were 20 gunshots in my neighborhood up towards that area. They were about, I'm going to say, 200 feet in the air, probably less, but people were shooting at it, and the media doesn't cover it. Now, now, Russell, I sent you that video like an hour ago,
Yeah, but
um,
yep.
from a friend of ours from Get Haunted. Let's say it is real, okay, and that's still debatable. Um, why hasn't that been reported? And where did that wreckage go? You see a drone being shot. By the way, Russell, help me here. Your eyes are better than mine. Did another drone shoot it, or did someone on the ground shoot it?
Yeah, it was hard to tell if somebody shot it. You just see an explosion, then you see another, it looked like an orb just pop right back out again. So, I don't know. It was hard to tell if it was another drone that shot it down or somebody shot
But
it from.
obviously that was recorded on film and could be transmitted to the news station, but there was no report whatsoever. And let's say they're um that migrants have been coming in for the past 3 years. Let's say there's 22,000 Chinese migrants, young men in their mid 20s, and they have been mailed from China these drones, okay? So what is it exactly they're looking for or planning? I don't want to create fear here, But are they looking to take out the electrical grid and internet on election on the inaugural day? When all the armed forces, the Air Force, etc., are brand new day one, or
Right.
or is it? I mean, if that's the case, if you and I can talk on this level, Russell, you mean to tell me the Air Force doesn't know this?
Exactly. And
So the government knows whether it's America or a foreign adversary. Okay, now in all events, I can see flaws in all of these theories, whether it's alien, domestic, our vehicles, or the 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 migrant foreigners creating a network in here now. And then there's the one that the media says, as of Friday, I'm sorry, Thursday evening, by the FBI, that it's all people with hobbies and little toys flying their drones around. Well, some of these drones are as big as a car, and one was 200 feet. That was seen in New Jersey, near Pennsylvania. So, what is going on? After all, I say this, Russell. What are you thinking about what I said?
I agree with you. I mean, something's
Something
very
is up.
something's up going on.
And
One video
why and
I
why
saw, they
won't the why won't the government just tell us and say, "Hey, it's our drones." Okay, or we don't know who these drones are. But the lack of information shows a I don't want to say um I mean they're afraid of how we'll respond,
Mhm.
you know? The lack of information is what's scary. But I can tell you I can tell you this much. I've watched this past week. I was in New York for 2 days. Both days, while I'm on the subway platform, which is above ground, I watched one so obvious. I brought out my phone and started filming it. Then I'm like, why doesn't anyone else see this? There were about 60, 90 people on the platform waiting for
Mhm.
the train, and they were all in their phones. They didn't look up. But I got this great footage. It was about 4 blocks from the subway. I'm like, why can't anyone see this? They they um they fly where there's a lot of people, believe it or not. They don't fly at 4 in the morning where there's no one around. They want our daily pattern of our commuting, our travels, our car roads. They want to see that activity as well as the location. By the
Mhm.
way, another theory is this is what's going on in New York, they say, at least, that they're looking for the government, our drones, supposedly, are looking for dirty bombs, radiation bombs.
That's
But
what
if
I've
that's
oh,
but you heard that?
yep.
But if that's the case, why are they flying in middle of like no man's land where a farmhouse is? Look at your area, for example, your house. Why are they flying in Russia? Okay, why are they flying in other parts of the world? That's the part that's not being addressed or answered. That's the part that brings fear, whether it be for looking for dirty bombs or how the electrical grid works or what would be the best time to turn that off. Um, these are the thoughts that create fear. By the way, people who can hear my voice, please know if you have fear about this, that's a normal thing. It's lack of information that your mind pieces together and it causes fear. Okay, so that's okay. That's a normal reaction, and it's you can't do anything about it. It's a normal reaction, and you're going to have fear if you don't know. Well, the government's not telling us much, so we piece together theories, and at this point, no one's wrong because we don't know for sure. Now, I see some comments, and I'll be quiet.
Yeah, Brian said people acting like they haven't seen drones before. Then he said the plasma ball things is what I'm curious about. Maybe government drones going after the plasma things.
Well, I think he's talking about the footage. There's two footage that were taken on like one in an airport runway, and it was filmed by a pilot. and the plane's not moving. It's getting ready to taxi. But this round, have you seen this, Russell?
Yeah, I have seen this. Yeah.
That round ball.
Yep.
I mean, think about it. It just takes up off the tarmac of the runway. First off, there's no exhaust vapors. There's no like propulsion um, vapor or image around it. It just shoots off as if. I mean, think about it. How is it propelled?
Yeah, exactly.
Think about that. And how long was it on that runway before the pilot said, "Let me take my hands off the steering wheel of this plane and start filming with my phone." You know,
Mm,
it's just again lack of information, and that's what makes it scary. Is it aliens? Is it another like China shipped drones here, and now we're seeing they possibly want to kill the internet on inaugural day? Is it? I mean, and if it's just America, why? If that's the case, why are they in other countries of the world?
yeah,
What's the
exactly.
what's the? So I don't know. I don't know. Everyone's opinion is valid now at this point. What's the question thinking?
Summerside of Life said in the movie Signs, they are probing the defenses to see our responses like poking an anthill, wait to see whom comes out.
Well, I hope we have enough foil for hats. Either you saw the movie or you didn't. This
Yeah.
person knows. Um, so I don't know, but it's kind of exciting. I try to not let the fear in, and I say, oh, that's scary, but I don't want to carry that thought all day. So I look at it as exciting, and quite honestly, what I tell myself, do you think, do you really think that the Lord would allow us all to be vaporized in 5 minutes? For real? Do you think so? No. No.
Nope.
And if they are extraterrestrial, which I kind of don't believe, I think they're of Earth origin. My point is, if it was extraterrestrial, they would have been able to kill us decades ago. So I think if it is extraterrestrial, there's a biological link to them to us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and that in that respect, they don't want to hurt us or harm us. But you ever think of this? If it is extraterrestrial, will it be a year, 6 months, 2 months, a week before we get to communicate with them? What will that look like? How will the media cover that? What network will get that story? Who
Right.
will who will first believe it? And I have a question for them. Did Jesus ever go on their planet and teach? Do you know of Jesus? And maybe they didn't kill him. Maybe he lived 200 years to teach on their existence. Who
Right.
knows? All, no one is wrong on this. Any thoughts, any hypothesis, um, go for it. All opinions are valid and welcome at this point. But it is, I look at it as exciting.
Brian says how long we have before this thing goes down, and then he said big event.
Yeah, well, is it, Ryan? I think something's up. Something's going to happen, and uh, you know, I kind of, I kind of wish it would just go ahead and do it. You know, and what will the media say then? What will the government say then?
Right. And Summer said, I don't have fear, I'm with God.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. Sometimes fear can be good. It'll keep you out of danger. And but in this situation, with the lack of information we have on the drones and the what reason, fear can come in easily. Just to know and to identify, you don't have a problem with that, I can tell, but that's good. So just know that you are divinely protected, and it's a very exciting time. Don't ask me how and why, but if you're living now in on Earth right now in 2024-25. It took 8 generations for you to be able to incarnate now in this time, in this lifetime. So 8 generations of so-called your family, your pod, and a family can consist basically of, and I'm just rounding this off generally, anywhere from 80 to 200 souls that will reincarnate as families in and out. Your mother could be a baby the next time. Your father could be your sister next time. I know one lifetime my oldest sister was my mother. So I do remember that. So, in other words, it took 8 generations for you to wait to get into a physical body at this time. That's how divine and so exciting spiritually. And in other words, this lifetime, this next 25 to 50 years, this is the time they will read about centuries later. Now, that sounds weird, but I believe that. I believe that. And look to the skies, my friends. Look to the skies.
Yep. Summer says, "I like Mr. Kirby, decent person."
Oh, Summer, thank you so very much. I'm going to put that in my pocket for a rough day. Thank you. You know, um, someone said, "How do you be a light worker?" earlier. Uh, I got to live with myself, so I might as well be a good person. I want to feel good about my daily activity when I fall asleep at night and turn out the light. I want to be proud, and I'm not friends with everybody. I'm not going to be. Don't try to be, but I do try to treat and be kind to all people and animals that and souls that I meet. And I know that if I fight with someone, I know that if they knew my heart, that they'd be a good friend. So I give them a chance and another chance and another chance. Easy to say when you're sitting here with Russell on a podcast, but no, you see this hair? I didn't dye it. It was earned. So that's that. That's my opinion.
And my dad told me to tell you, he said hi. He's waving to you through the screen.
Well, I thought about him 5 or 6 times today, and yeah, I was having dinner tonight with Tony, and he mentioned your father, and my highest, kindest regards to him with respect.
Awesome. Summer says, "I'm in Western Canada. It's way too cold outside to be looking at the skies right now. Maybe in March and April."
Now read that first part again. She's in Canada.
Yep, she's in Canada and she says it's way too cold outside to be looking at the skies right now. She
Oh
said
yes,
maybe in
yeah.
March or April.
And I think by then we'll know. I think by then we'll know what the gig is. Um, excuse me. That's something interesting, though. You got to think about. It's so very cold. I mean, up there, 200 feet up. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised equipment could still, those drones could still work, but obviously they do.
Right?
Think about it. Um, but and it's interesting. You don't really see them much during the daytime. It's mostly at night or dusk. In other words, as far as New York City, you can always see them between like 4 p.m. and 12 midnight. They're never. I mean, I looked and looked and looked and looked. They're never in the sky like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. It's empty.
Yep.
It's very interesting. But then no one's out at that time either. But still, in other words, I think half the information they want is our life pattern, our lifestyle, how we operate on the surface of the earth, if that makes sense. I think if they're looking for dirty bombs, why are they in Russia and other countries? You know,
Exactly.
I don't know. Anyone's guess is correct at this point.
Well, that
Pardon
was
me.
Thursday night by my house. The skies were empty. I didn't see one drone. I was out there looking. I didn't see one. Then the next night, I counted about eight of them flying around.
And it's like, do they know we know? Yes. Yes. And where are they landing? And how come no one has shot one down? Think
exactly.
about it. How
There's a
come no one has shot one down physically to get one? And then
one
it'll be up. The gig is up. We can know if it's China or we can know if it's unearthly. Well, and why doesn't the government just come forth and say we're still investigating and don't feed us just a line that it's hobbyist?
right,
And
or
that's
they
from
say,
the head of
"Oh,"
FBI.
or they say they're not a public threat. Well, you got all these drones flying over your house, over your property, they're invading your personal space.
I recently went on a plane this week and I said, I'm not afraid of takeoff or anything, but I said, okay, as we went higher and higher, we're out of bird zone, so no birds in the engine, and then we're out of drones area. We're
Mhm.
way above the clouds. No, no, nothing can affect the plane. But I don't know. Just be honest with us. Just don't treat us like children. Could you imagine the stock market if they said it was extraterrestrial? Could you imagine what would
Right,
happen? Think about it. I mean, think about it. It would, in a way, be created by free will catastrophe. It doesn't have to be that way. You know, just let us know what they are. We're curious. We're getting video. It's all over the internet, not the media. You know, as of just past week. Sorry, I got something in my throat. Just as of this past week, it's now on the media. You know,
mhm,
I was showing my neighbor a video taken out my window, and she's like, "What is that? Where'd you get that?" I said, "The drones." What's that? I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Now you can't watch 10 minutes of the news without hearing a story about it. Thank
yeah.
goodness. You
Brian
know,
said this month, I think we will know.
Ryan, your guess is as good as mine. There's no wrong answers. It's all up in the air at the moment. It doesn't
April
have to be.
April says, "I haven't seen any by me." Summer said, "None in Canada. The governor took away all of the gun rights, but we still have our hockey sticks and pucks."
That's good. Thank you, Summer. That's good. Keep a
Brian
sense of humor.
Brian said, "Government talking to us like children."
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Um, and if something did happen, if one landed, in a small town, would the media even show it?
Right.
Or does it have to happen on the White House lawn to have it shown? Excuse me.
Well, there's like that one video, it was supposed to a news clip in New Jersey where one crashed and they were investigating it. You see where it dumped fuel all over a mall parking lot and then it crashed down over an embankment. But that's all they say about it, that they're investigating it and they nothing else.
Drones? Do drones have gas tanks? No.
No.
They have batteries.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just saying. Um, but if they're sure it's gas or some kind of propellant, by the way, which reminds me, they've documented in like Wyoming and near Missouri, actually, where the drone may have flown 500 miles and it has to fly 500 miles back.
Mhm.
We don't have the capability of that. There's no human-made drone that can do that.
No.
That's available on the commercial market, at least. Um, so, with every theory, with every possibility that people think of, there's a flaw. So no one knows. No answer's wrong, and we just have to wait. We have to be wise. Check your fear level. Make sure you don't allow that to rise, and it always helps for me to know spiritually that I'm protected. And if I was under threat that day, the Lord knows. So I
Right.
trust and walk my way. I don't want to sound too spiritual or high astro biblical, but um, if the day arrives, say tomorrow, that the drones land on the ground and it gets disclosed, you don't think the Lord wouldn't know?
Oh, he'd know.
He'd know. He'd know. Um, so as far as those drones, I don't know. Maybe we're living in a very divine, transformational month this year. Who knows? Who knows?
Brian says Duracell Platinum battery.
Uh, for the drone.
Yep.
But you said earlier there was one that crashed with gas.
Yeah, you can see a spot in the parking lot where it some kind of liquid. I'm assuming it's fuel or
Well, did they ever find the drone?
yeah. Apparently, they found it crashed over down an embankment, and they were down in there, but they won't kind of show what it looks like or
And who is they?
the media. It was some place in New Jersey that it had crashed.
Well, right now I have to categorize that as internet hoax until
That's
we
what I'm
see
thinking because
fit.
it was on YouTube that they were showing this news coverage in New Jersey, and you see the fire department, the police, and they say they're investigating it, a mysterious drone crash.
Well, it shouldn't be mysterious because the physical the wreckage should be there,
Yep.
and they'll know if it's made in China, no pun intended, or whether it's made in Pluto. You know.
Right, and they should be able to, with all our technology today, to hack into those cameras to see what they're seeing.
Oh, within 2 hours. And
Yep.
why? I mean, and think about it. Think about it, folks. You see these drones. Let's just use New York City. Who is observing what they're looking at, what they're filming? Who is seeing that live?
Yep.
Right?
And they swear there's a mothership that they're all coming from that's off the coast.
And could extraterrestrials make an object like a drone or a real UFO saucer, say surveillance saucer, look like a drone? Sure, but I mean, why? Where's the one that that crashed in New Jersey? I mean, tell us that it's not made in on this
Right.
earth. You see, that's why. That's what America wants right now. They want answers. Excuse me, and they're not getting it from the government.
Brian says he's seen the same video that I saw. He said lots of dumb fake videos out there, and that's true. There is. April says, but being over military bases, there is no reason the military did not shoot them down unless they know what they are.
April, that's a great point. Uh, and I think that add this to it that the military knows what they are. And by the way, why would they be looking over the military if they're hobbyists? In other words, could you go in that restricted space? No.
Yep.
And by the way, they're trying to pass legislation to the governor in New York State. Excuse me, my voice is really about to have it. That they want to make like over the city, over the airports, almost all of New York City boroughs, no fly zones. Okay, but you see a drone above LaGuardia, who's going to go after that drone and catch it and send a ticket down? Folks, get real. Get real.
Right.
You see, if they can't even retrieve one or be honest with us, it's all just to placate us. That's all.
Yep. And they should be able to. And I mean, they're up there. I heard another thing. They're harassing jets and stuff flying around. Drones are flying around along the jets and harassing them.
Really.
And they're not doing nothing about it. I mean, I know these bigger drones, if you're a hobbyist, you have to have a license for those bigger drones because Missouri uses them to retrieve wounded deer and stuff like that. You can call a drone company to come out and fly a drone over the area with a thermal imager to find your wounded animal.
And then give it help, right?
Yep. So you
Okay.
can retrieve it so it's not staying out there in the woods.
Okay, that's great. That's good. Um, I just, it just, There's no answers, no real answers, and that's what America is desiring right now. And don't treat us like children, like the viewer said. That's a great point. The attitude sometimes is condescending, and
Mhm.
that's what we resent, in my opinion.
And even with those drones retrieving your lost animal, you still have to have permission from law enforcement to actually fly one over a piece of property.
Well, I think that the governor in New York is just placating us because how you gonna say, hey, drone, stop? Let me give you a ticket.
Yep.
You're flying over LaGuardia. That's ridiculous, and it won't work. And why do I know that and she doesn't? Why does the government not know that? Because they're not telling all the truth. That's all I'm saying. Treat us like adults, and yeah, they're afraid of the stock market. They're afraid of other things, and yeah, it's a very interesting time right now, and all questions are valid. No one has the right or wrong information. It's everyone has a equal voice in this as it stands right now in late December.
And that's even some of the ones I seen the other night. We had heavy cloud cover, and you're flying through heavy cloud cover. So what is that camera even seeing through those clouds? That them clouds are going to block that camera out. So
That's a good point. The Monday night when I filmed what I filmed over Astoria, New York, there was cloud cover, but it flew below it. It was 200 feet up in the air. That's it. That's all. Maybe 100 at times. But it did the same route for 2 hours. And the footage I recorded, I'm narrating it and saying, "Watch right now. It's going to turn around," and it turns around and goes about 20 yards and goes boop out. It didn't go into clouds. It stayed
mm,
level, you know, and it did that for 2 hours till I finally started filming it. But yeah, I don't know. Sums up,
yep,
and I'm open to any answers because every single theory I see where there are flaws. You know. So and explain the one that was supposedly they said 90% of the side of the car.
yeah,
I do. Pardon me. I'm sorry. I got something in my throat. Um, I mean, size of a car is huge. That's not a hobbyist. Okay, that's not with the Radio Shack battery. No, 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 no. That's
uh,
serious. So it's very interesting, and that's the frustration that America's feeling right now. They're not getting the correct answers. So my opinion only.
and that's like another theory I heard that some radiation went missing, some radioactive material in the United States, and that's another reason why the drone sightings they're scanning the area for radioactive material.
That's what they're saying they're doing in New York. They're scanning for dirty bombs. But why are there also drones in Canada and Russia, etc.?
Yep.
You see, every theory has its faults, so and flaws. I don't know. I don't know. Anyone's guess is as good as mine because I don't know. But it's exciting.
And like Brian said, military would have those big types of drones, and that's true. There was a guy that on TikTok that is contracted by the military, and he builds those military type drones. He's the one that put out there that they're flying around looking for the radioactive material and
Ryan,
nuclear stuff.
uh, that's sorry, Russell. Go ahead.
But that's what this guy posted that that's what they were looking for is the radioactive material. They're looking for nuclear stuff in the United States, and he said that it was our military that was flying them around looking for it.
Well, Ryan, and to your point, Russell, that's frustrating because, like, when did this nuclear material or dirty bomb material get stolen, and how? You don't hear about it on the news. So the government's got something to do, and they've been slacking in one department. That's for sure.
Right,
I think we're going to know in about 2 to 3 weeks, if not sooner. It's got to come to a head.
right, definitely. I mean,
But
There's probably more of 'em.
January 20th, I would watch very closely.
Yep,
That's inaugural day,
yep, definitely.
if that makes sense. That's my gut feeling.
But I mean, like I said, that one yesterday morning that I saw, it just vanished in midair.
And were you like the only one around to see it, or were there other people?
No, I was the only one. I was standing in my backyard getting ready to leave for work that morning. This was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and it just vanished.
So who's watching the cameras to know to cloak it and make it disappear?
Yep.
You see? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It doesn't, doesn't all add up. And where are they when they're watching this? They got to be on the ground somewhere. Or are they under the oceans? And these are all UFO craft. And if it is that, then how'd they get to Missouri
Yeah, exactly.
and back? So every theory, whether it's government, whether it's China, extraterrestrial, every theory has a flaw. It doesn't make sense with all this behavior with the drones. So that's where I stand on it. I don't know. I don't know. I want to know. I'd love to know and eager to know, but I don't. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't
Right.
know. That's all I can say about those. But we'll. Well, I think we'll hear. It's funny. Like yesterday, there was no drone stories here in the Northeast. It was zip. That's it.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll watch.
And that's like tonight. I was out there and I only counted two, and that was it. Flying the same pattern. Usually there's about, I'll count about 7 or 8 of them, and there was only two tonight.
Yeah, and I've seen some nights where there's 7 or 8 going around, and I mean, are they aware of each other? Or who's flying those? Who's at the command center watching what they're filming?
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. And it would be interesting to know all the commercial airline pilots. They've got stories. They tell their wives or husbands stuff when they get home. It's very interesting.
Right. Because the other night when I was watching that one and I was filming it, one was coming this way. There was a plane kind of this far apart from it going this way, right
Yeah.
past.
So you can't say they don't see it,
So,
but no one's talking.
no.
you know and stuff always gets out, but no one's talking. you know so it's very interesting, exciting times. Look at it that way.
Buddy of mine in Florida, he sent me a video of a guy shooting at one, but
Well, like I said, last Monday there were 20 shots from the Astoria area up at it. Media didn't cover that, not a word.
I heard some out here too as well from me. The one night when I was out watching them, and that was the night there was about 8 or 9 of them flying back and forth. I heard about 8 or 9 shots.
And Russell, where are they landing?
Yeah, that's a good question because I
No
mean,
one sees them come down. Where are they landing?
yeah,
you
it's
mean you mean New York City with 8 million people? They don't see them come down? It
yeah,
doesn't make sense.
it don't. I mean, even like for us, because we're in the Midwest, so we're like right in the where I live. We're in like the north central part of Missouri, so there's no waterways unless they're landing on the rivers or anything like that, or because like the Grand River taps into the Mississippi River, so there's the Missouri River. So,
I don't think they land in a river. I'm talking about an ocean.
but we're
Some,
nowhere
some,
near an ocean.
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So how do they get the gas, battery, whatever, to go 500 miles,
Hmm.
film in Missouri, and then come back? It doesn't make sense.
Right. And even
You
if they're
know,
from the East Coast, they're traveling from New York to Missouri is like 1,700 miles.
you were there the night that we did the investigation at the penitentiary, right?
Yep.
Wow. I often think of that.
Yep. That was the night actually we
Oh,
duplicated Dan's Estes method down in the same dungeon cell that Dan did it, and we were picking up on cell 20 and the objects upstairs after you guys had packed it up the leftover energy, and then that man that was angry.
right. The man that was in that cell.
Yep.
Yeah, I told him I could see where he's hovering in the corner there, up near the ceiling. He was quite alarmed. He's not a bad person. He was just upset that we were there disrupting the pattern of his daily existence, I guess. Because we used his cell to store some of the items that Nesper had left over, the T-shirts and the our like I had I was in there to set up my drink station because I talk in the teach in the museum, so it can go 3 hours of solid talking, and ring a bell, so I set up some drinks there on the counter, and I said, we're not going to harm you. We're not here to interfere with you or interact. I said, we are going to go. The place will be left as it was. So you will have your cell. And he basically said that, like, just stay back. And he's going to slide down the wall downstairs where it's quieter. Now, you all were doing investigations. So that would have been interesting to know what you all got. But yeah, he wasn't a demonic or anything. He was just he did a crime, but low frequency. And that's not a judgment. But he was just very, fluttery, alarmed, with the interaction with all the people. Suddenly, he didn't
Mhm.
want them to come in his cell, you know. And I kind of cleaned up a little bit, and he was like, no, 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 don't move anything. And I'm like, okay, 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 okay.
Oh,
But yeah, so I wanted to verbalize that to some of the people. And it's interesting. So when you were down there doing your method, um, what'd you pick up?
we picked up a man that was angry. He was not very friendly.
That's the man in the cell.
He was cussing, and when we were doing the Estes, the we had like 6 grown men that were sitting there. They weren't having no part of it. They ran out of there.
Really?
And so we let another girl try it. We weren't using a spirit box. We were using our senses. We put
Okay.
canceling headphones on and then blindfold, and we would let somebody ask a question. If we heard them ask a question, we wouldn't answer. So when I got on there, I started picking up cell 20. I started picking up the artifacts upstairs.
Right.
I picked up fire. Then I picked up housed 18 years down in that dungeon, set the prison on fire, which was JB the firebug who was housed down there for 18 years that went blind.
Right. Right.
And nobody really can tap into JB. He's not real responsive. He's very hard to communicate with. But for some reason that night he decided he wanted to come through me. And then shortly after that, something dark come in front of that my vision in that blindfold, and I was like, "Nope, we're done."
Yeah. Good. 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 Yeah.
And when I was there the first time with another team, we had a girl get grabbed by the leg in that cell house 4 there. She was watching a shadow darting in and out of the cells up on the second catwalk. So I went up there to check it out, and I started pacing the catwalk like a guard. Well, I got back behind her up on the catwalk, and I hear her yell, "Something just grabbed my leg." Well, earlier that night, we went to dinner with all them. My dad told her, "You're gonna get touched tonight." And sure enough, there she did. She got grabbed by the back of the leg, and I tried to explain to her, I said, "Don't take this wrong, but We are in a black cell house. You are a black woman. These inmates haven't seen women in God knows 20, 40 years. So to
Right.
them, you're a good looking female. Of course, they're going to come grab you because you're in their cell house.
Yeah. You know, watching the Etsy's method and observing it over, I guess, 5 years, um, people would come to me like almost two or three a night. I wish my voice was better. And they would get their energy drained. So I would take them out of the room away from people, and I would first off get any attachment off of them that was draining them, and number two, I would seal them, and then I would recommend that they get some Gatorade and or hummus and refuel. Okay, and then I started thinking about it for almost 9 months to a year, and I talked to Dan, and he's the lead investigator. What he says goes. I said, I'm tired. People get don't let. I said I just interrupted myself. I said, from now on, can we have a policy where no one can do Etsy's method unless they're 18 or above,
Mm,
preferably over 21. And number two, no one should do Etsy's method without a strong spiritual belief.
exactly.
Okay, in their spirituality. And Dan goes, I agree, but how are you going to know that? I said, look at me. When you want to pick someone, look at me, and I'll say no, no, because it's not fair to me. He goes, when are you doing this? I don't ever see you do that. I said, because I take them out of the room. We don't want to show. We want to get them back. So I take them out of the room, sit them down in the hallway, wherever, at a
Hmm.
bench, and clear them. You never see that, Dan, because I'm out of the room. You're teaching. So I said, it's not fair to just throw them at me all the time. So why don't we do this? Let's not do anyone under 18 years. Because it's my judgment, but I kind of believe, you have to have a comprehension of spirituality.
Yep.
Actually, I believe that happens in your early 30s, depending on the life, but everyone is different. But I don't think it's wise to do the Etsy's method if you don't have a strong spiritual foundation.
Hmm.
And there's too much dark out there. There's too much demonic out there that'll rush in and take over, and even mimic voices. And if you don't have a feeling of frequency of awareness of that, then it's very dangerous. So I agree with you. Yeah, and that's why I carry holy water all the time, and Gatorade in my case bag. Electrolytes. You should drink that right away after an attack,
Right.
be it a draining or from Etsy's method. That's my personal belief, but it took me about 4 years to define and come
Mm.
up with that philosophy. And he's in agreement. We don't want to hurt people. Bottom line, come on.
Well, we found also if you only do like 15-minute sessions and then pull them out of it, it's kind of a little better on their bodies. It's not so draining if to someone that stays under for like 30 minutes.
And it
And
also depends on the environment.
yep,
Like if you do Etsy's in the museum, forget about it.
yep. And
Um,
we also do a countdown too. When we
what's
do
that?
Estes, we'll count down from like 10 before we pull them out. That puts a little more pressure, like, on the spirit that's talking. If they got something more to say, that gives them their last bit of freedom before we pull them out of Estes. And we explain during the session that it's physically demanding on their bodies. We are going to pull them. So
Right.
the countdown hits one, we're done, and we thank the
That's
spirit
good. I
time.
like that.
And it
I,
works. Like when we did that doll Estes, when they did the double Estes on with the doll, we did a countdown on it, and you could tell that was not a human spirit the way it did. It got real fed up when Mike did the countdown. He started counting down to 10, and it came out on the spirit box 2. It didn't
hmm.
wanna talk no more. It was done. It was fed up.
Yeah, I like that. I'll cut it off when I can feel a demonic. Um, and I like to stand within 10 feet of the Etsy's person who's under, and do it that way. And you can also, of course, verbally tell as well, attitude wise and tone. But yeah, I think I don't. I'm against having children do it. I don't care how popular or what
Yeah,
party is going on, and
I don't
I
like
don't want anyone to do it who does not have a strong foundation of faith.
Brian
That's
said my wife did it, handled it well. It just annoyed me when I tried it. I'm better at asking questions during it.
Then there you go. That's good that you know that beforehand. That's good.
Yep.
You're a better tool. Um, yeah, I've never done Etsy's. Ryan Buell asked me. He says, "Wade, why don't you do it?" And it would be a lot. I'd be a live wire. I would. I would be. Yeah, it would be so connected. I'd be scared. So no, I don't want to do that. They would just um, no. So I haven't done it, and I don't really want to do it. But I'm good at interpreting. That's for sure.
That's like me. I don't like going under in Estes. I rather ask questions than go under. I usually let my member Jen, she'll be the one to go under, and I I'm able to tell when there's something going on with her if she shouldn't be under anymore.
Yeah, I guess I've just been exposed to the demonic too much. You know, I'm that much ca- caution, and I won't throw that away. So that's that. You know, just one thing I won't do for now. That's
Right? Especially for me being the lead investigator of the team, it's my job to make sure their safety is my number one priority. So
Russell. I like how you have a good level head.
if you're under
Common,
Estes, you can't keep your team members safe.
right? Good common sense. I like that about you. It's a good character in this field. It's a good character to have that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like my dad, I know when he's getting attacked because we worked together for so long. Jen, I know when she is because I've worked with her for so long. So when you got that team that you're binded together, you know each other when something's wrong.
Right. And you stick together and watch your co-investigator. By
Yep,
the way, there's a question, but that's why it's so easy to make strong friends in the paranormal, because when you're on an investigation, you're dependent on the other person to protect you and watch you.
yep,
Okay? Believe it or not, that's it's like an actor on stage. You are dependent on the other actor to get you through that scene. You two are vital parts. One without the other wouldn't work. So
exactly.
so that's how you get friendships very fast in the paranormal field. Now, what's the question that I interrupted? Apologies.
Brian just said Russell has good vibes. Thanks,
There you
Brian.
go. There you go. Good. Yes. He's a good soul and a good gentleman. And he's great to have around during an investigation. Absolutely.
I take seriously what I do. I'm not a thrill seeker in it. I'm here to help and
There you
educate.
go. There you go. There you go. Not in for the ego or the TV show.
No, my mindset, I feel if I did that, my cousins would come back and smack me upside the head, say, "What are you doing?"
Good, 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 good. Yeah, I stay out of the limelight as well. Most people don't know me. I'm the guy who's on all fours on the floor, taping down the mic cord and pulling the curtains, organizing, and all like that. So that's that.
Yep, and I'm like one of those team leads. I set up equipment. I have no problem doing that. I'll help set up cameras. We're really it's a tech guy that's supposed to be doing it. I don't care. I get right in there with them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm glad you like that area in the museum at the Paracon
Oh
that
yeah, I
of the
enjoyed that.
Warrens at home. You know, I spoke with Judy and I recognized certain outfits that Miss Warren wore, like at the Conjuring premiere, etc. And I located those items, those outfits, and said, "Can I present this at the with this photograph at the premiere at during the Gettysburg Paracon?" And she said yes. She gave me full reign, and Dan did as well. So I just set it up. However, I learned something. I paint. People don't know that I paint, and I paint many pictures about the backyard, the front yard, etc., around the house. And um, people thought those were Mr. Warren's paintings. So they were mine. But next year, that taught me to put Mr. Warren's paintings out. Everyone wants to see his paintings. So the next time, if we do a Paracon next year or the next year, Mr. Warren's paintings will be out, not mine. That's a good idea. So I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that. It kind of got emotional for me to see my family's legacy right there because
Well, thank you.
I never did get to meet the Warrens, but I followed them since I was a kid. My dad's followed them and never knew that I was related to him until about a year ago.
And audience, know that The Conjuring 4 has finished filming almost by 3 weeks now. And they are editing and creating the score. I believe September 5th is the release date of 25. So just know that the hard part, the filming, is all done. And it'll be the last Conjuring series in a film. And it's called The Last Rites. So I know the subject matter and some more secrets, and I ain't gonna tell, but it's
Nope,
gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Yeah.
them
So
quiet.
yeah, we have that to look forward to next year.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. Um, anything else, Russell?
Nope, that's it. We're pretty much towards the end of the show.
Well,
If
this has been. This is. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
if people want to get a hold of you and Nesper to book you guys for Paracons, help
They
with
can go to
investigation.
Warren's dot. They can go to Warren's Paracon.com and type in there, and the team reads the posts or questions or request or for team investigations, etc. And that's how you would do it under warrensparacon.com or warrens.net. You can go there as well. But yeah, that's how they could get in touch with us. And it's kind of busy at the moment. By the way, paranormal activity, case wise, usually increases this time of year. They do it to mock the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And uh, so just be patient, but we will get to your questions or requests. And thank you for looking us up. Absolutely. We're here to help.
Definitely. And be sure, guys, to also check out Friday nights on the Get Haunted Network. Nesper has their own podcast. So if you want
Yes.
to learn a lot more about those guys and
And
the
we do it
museum,
every other week. So this Friday, because of the holiday, we're not going to do it. So I'm going to say the first Friday into the new year. I think there's one scheduled there. You'll usually see a post on Facebook beforehand, like 24 hours beforehand. But they even have a call in number live. So you can call in with your questions and speak to us live. We love that. So that's usually half the show. So get your questions ready, and we'll be glad to answer if we know it. We'll be glad to answer your questions.
and before we close the show out, I'd like to say happy birthday to Tony Spera.
Yes. Yes, thank you. I will forward that to him. Yes.
And
Yeah,
then
he had a good quiet birthday, but he says he was all day on his phone, texting and thanking people and all. That's what it's about. But yes, he had a good birthday. So, thank you.
I also saw it was John Zappas' birthday as well too.
Yes. I think that was today.
Yeah. So happy
Yes.
birthday to my cousin John Zaffis as well.
Yes, small world.
Yeah, definitely is. So, you want to hang on for a minute, Wade? We're going to close the show out.
Thank you, folks. Thanks for watching.
Hopefully everybody has a good Merry Christmas and a safe holiday. And we will see you next Saturday. Same
Bye.
time, same channel.